All right. Good morning, everyone. I'm Patti Goolsby out of the Denver metro area. Thank you so much for joining us this lovely Friday morning. I'm going to share our two quotes that we share every morning. This is our cross-line culture call, so it spans the full LifeVantage family. Two quotes. The first one is, a culture is strong when people work with each other for each other, and a culture is weak when people work against each other for themselves. And our second one is, culture eats strategy for breakfast every single time. Love those quotes. So I'm going to pass it over to Pro 6, Shannon Shine out of the Denver metro area, so she can introduce our amazing guest this morning. Shannon, take it away.
Thank you so much, Patti. And yeah, you guys have to listen to all of about Dr. Nancy Bryan, because you need to know that this woman knows what she's talking about, and she's going to pour into us today. So take a listen to this. She has Dr. Nancy Bryan, a BS in Biochemistry, a BS in Pharmacy, a Doctor of Pharmacy, a Nutrigenomics Educator, a Certified Diabetic Educator, a Certified Geriatric Specialist, and a Nutritional, Medicinal, and Veterinary Formulator. So Dr. Nancy, we are so excited to have you speak again for us. And I have to say this, over 1,000 views the last time we had Dr. Nancy speak for us. That replay has been viewed over 1,000 times. So she's got a lot to share with us today. So Nancy, please take it away.
Oh, you guys are way too kind. Thank you so much for having me on. And you know what? This cross-culture thing is a huge thing for me, because this truly is about sharing information. It's the only way we're going to change what's happening with Western medicine as a whole. You know what? We just don't see things happen quick enough in medicine. And this has been where everything I've done in my life over the last 30-some years has culminated. And I'm so excited to be here today, because I know that it's going to reach a lot of people. And you know what? I would love to think it's just because I'm just fascinating that many people viewed it. But what it is it's the information that people are looking for. They're looking for ways that we can deal with understanding our bodies better in terms of health. And that's why we want to talk today about prebiotics and probiotics, because a lot of times people don't understand the differences in what goes on inside our body. And so when you hear me speak, a lot of times I'll talk about different systems. In the past, when we were speaking, we were talking about the pillars of health and understanding why our vitality stack is so important, because it really makes a huge difference in optimizing the systems of our body. Well, what we all need to understand, most people don't have a clue. Our colon is an organ. I don't think people think of it that way. I think they think of it as, you know what, that's our waste receptacle area and that's the end of it, right? But if you knew and understood the health benefits that come from having a healthy colon, it's kind of funny, but you know what? It's huge in terms of everything else that goes on with our system. So you know what I'd like to do today is maybe have it as a format that you guys can help ask me a few questions that you have started experiencing. But what I want to just start with real quick is people understanding that there is a massive difference between prebiotics and probiotics from two regards. First of all, probiotics are living things. They're living organisms, and they live in our colon, and that's where lots of things happen when they're operating properly. There's over 1,000 different species of them. Can you imagine that? And there's millions and millions of them, more than all the other cells in our body. I mean, it's crazy how much is down there. And so the reason that we have to think about taking a probiotic is because even though the amount that we take daily, a lot of people will say, well, there's not enough to make a difference. Well, there is if you don't have any good ones there to begin with, because we can have a lot of bad bacteria down there. And so when people, I have so many doctors say, well, people, healthy people really don't need good bacteria. Well, that is absolutely not true. What they need is a good probiotic. They need to have one that actually gets there and does something. Most of the stuff on the market doesn't do that, and that's where they came to their conclusion. So you need to know and understand with our probiotic, because of our biotrack system and the way it's put together, you're going to start building biomes. That's the home they need to build to do the work they need to do. So with that premise, you need to know and understand, where does the prebiotic come in? It's not spelled wrong. It's a different thing, okay? It is actually literally a fibrous kind of thing that we get in a lot of our foods. It's just that most of our foods today don't do that anymore. And so that's why we need a little help. We need to help those probiotics we're putting in there to have what they need to multiply faster. And so what I'd like to do today is help answer questions about our particular prebiotic and why I was so excited to be part of it and to be able to share with people about it. Because like everything else that we do in this company, we try not to put any products out there that we are not so completely separated from that people can get anywhere. And believe me, our prebiotic fits into that same category as our probiotic. There isn't another one like it. So having said those informational things, where can I start to help answer questions for you?
Okay, so Shannon and I have a list that we went over last night. So the first thing I would like for you to address is we talked about the cleanse that you said that was a laxative, and this was the prebiotic is meant to change your whole digestive tract. And then you compared it. Can you want to go ahead and give us what that comparison is?
Okay, so what I was talking about was from the perspective of when you have a prebiotic going into your system. When we're talking about the cleanse was just designed to help our weight management system get kick-started. All right? It was designed to use twice a day and to clean out the whole digestive tract so that you got a fresh start. In the process, through time, I knew that within our system, we needed something to help remove Candida and some of the other bad things that are in our digestive tract that clog things up. And so you would have heard people like myself and many of the other medical professionals in this utilizing one cleanse a day for our diabetics, and that was because it did do what I said. It did help go in there and clean out that Candida. What the difference is between the cleanse is that was meant to just really clean out the stuff and get rid of it. What the prebiotic does is there's 5 parts of it that really set it apart. And if you go into your back office, this is important because the things I tell you, I want you to know they're there and available for every one of you. And so when you go into your back office, check this out, right? See this? This is the prebiotic, okay? Well, guess what? It has on there those 5 things I'm going to talk about. They're listed there, okay? Now, I might give you a little bit more detail, but I want you to know where you can get this information because it's readily available. I can't tell you how hard the scientific board works on making sure this stuff is there. And then the second thing before I finish, I want you to know there is a frequently asked questions section. Make sure that you're taking a look at that and printing those off because a lot of times the questions are answered right there. And it will be helpful. So having said that, the 5 things that really set apart our prebiotic from the cleanse and many other prebiotics are, first of all, we have a product within our product called Pretix. And I don't know if any of you have heard about that. But what Pretix is it's a specialized kind of oligosaccharide. And when we're talking about fibers and prebiotics for feeding probiotics, we are talking about oligosaccharides most of the time. It's just which kinds and how we can specialize them to do some things. So this Pretix is a really cool thing, and you should look it up to find out what is being said about it. Because one of the things that I found right away that I thought was really interesting, right off the bat, this Pretix, there's a UCLA study on it already. All right? And what does it say? It improves the beneficial gut flora as well as in healthy as well as overweight population. That's a huge thing. So they did this study because so many times when people are overweight, they aren't absorbing nutrients and they can't have things work for them. So that was one particular study. But my point is this is a product that a lot of people are going to pay attention to, and it's within our prebiotic. All right? So what does that do? Its purpose, and believe me, you can find all this information on this sheet, is that it plays an important role in making a difference with helping good gut bacteria. Why does that matter? what separated the cleanse from this is going to go in. We have our probiotics are like seeds in plants. The prebiotic is going to be like a fertilizer and like the sunshine in the water. And what happens when you have a really healthy garden? There's no room for weeds, right? So the bad bacteria are not going to be growing. That's like Candida, okay? So not only is it going to get rid of Candida overgrowth, because you do need some Candida, but you don't want an overgrowth, but it's also going to get rid of a lot of other bad things. And so that's why that pretix is a very specialized, and it's called a xylo-oligosaccharide. And it has to do with what section of the colon it works in. So it's going to help particularly good bacteria like the lactobacillus in the front portion of the small intestine down through into the colon. So that's why that's there. Then the second thing we have is something called fructooligosaccharides. Many prebiotics will have some kinds of those. And those fructooligosaccharides are really good because they're going to travel through the small intestine down to the large intestine. And again, this is about giving food to those probiotics. When we're feeding those probiotics, and both of you sent me that beautiful, beautiful video, and I would recommend that at the end. We'll tell people about it. But that video that described how the fact that we actually are going to help double the numbers of our own probiotics every 20 minutes when you're feeding them. Think about that. These are massive numbers, massive, massive numbers. So that's really important for you to understand that that's the role of those oligosaccharides. And another thing that we have is something called inulin, all right? And so we have three different kinds. We have the xylo-oligosaccharide, fructooligosacharide, and then inulin is oligosaccharide. They're all based in my biochemistry world on lengths of something, if you could see the chemical breakdown of it. And the bottom line is each one of them have different purposes in feeding those probiotics, just like when we're eating vegetables and fruits and all those kinds of things. That's the whole idea, is that we're eating all those different beautiful colors of fruits and vegetables. That's why we need those really good foods. But when we don't get enough, it's nice to have something like this prebiotic to help boost it. And then we have something called brown seaweed extract. And I'll tell you what, this thing is amazing, because when you think and take a look at it, just take a little peek and go into Wikipedia or wherever your search engines that you like to look at and look up brown seaweed. It's amazing what it does. But again, it's a kind of polysaccharide. So you can see where we are. They're all different forms. But the most important thing is they're insoluble. What that means is they're going to go all the way through your system. Everybody knows and understands. Fibers are good for lots of reasons, feeding those probiotics, but they also kind of scrub out some of the dirt and the junk. That's how they get rid of all the bad stuff, all right? That brown seaweed goes immeasurable in terms of boosting our immune system. And if you really want to dig into it, you cannot believe how many studies are underway right now with what it's doing in cancer. I cannot even begin to tell you how exciting it is in regard to breast and colon cancer. And while we can never say we treat, mitigate, cure, or do any of that, I'm just encouraging you, go look up inulin and see what inulin is being researched for in our favorite place, PubMed.gov, all right? Because you're going to see what it does in terms of our immune system and promoting, again, that good gut probiotic numbers. And then the last thing, we have amino acids. And the reason the amino acids are in there is because we want to be able to help our gut signal our brain. You know how I talk about that all the time. Well, a really good way to do that is by exciting our L cells. That's L. Does that look like an L? I don't know. But L cells are really cool. What they are is they actually secrete things that a lot of people might be familiar with. You'll hear people talk about pancreatic enzymes. How many of you have been asked, well, should I be taking pancreatic enzymes along with some of our stuff? You're going to get that all the time, right? Well, here I am to tell you the answer to that question. And that question is, when we trigger our L cells through these amino acids, you know what happens? We get that fullness feeling of satiation because our brain is getting signaled from those endocrine cells. And guess why? because they release digestive enzymes. Is that cool or what? I mean, we've got it all here. It is so exciting to me. When you take a look, one of the reasons that Fifi added the amino acids is for that very reason, is that's going to, those L cells, when they get excited, the reason they suppress hunger is because they activate those enzymes from your gallbladder and your pancreas. Those are proper enzymes to break down foods that your body says, hey, I'm full. So what separates our prebiotic from all the others is all of those things.
Wow.
I'm so excited about everything that you just said. So I have a question about going back a little bit, and I think I may have texted you this question. People don't necessarily know, though, if their gut is overpopulated with bad bacteria. Would that be correct? So, you know, if someone's saying, well, I think my gut bacteria is fine, is there anything that you can speak to on that? Where?
Yes. First of all, if they live in America, I'm just going to tell you, they're full of Candida. It's our American diet. And it's not our fault. It's just that our for the last 20 years, everything we have had in it has preservatives. And because of that, that's allowed Candida to take over. Now, some of us are in way worse condition gut-wise than others. So my conversation to people is, you know what, let's talk about that. First and foremost, if they're completely, totally healthy and they have absolutely no inflammatory processes happening, they have absolutely no brain fog, they have absolutely no lack of energy, they have absolutely no aches and pains anywhere, and they never get sick, maybe they don't need a probiotic. But it's been my experience, I haven't met anyone yet. Because most of the people, unfortunately for me, or fortunately, I guess, I see a lot of sick people. So for me, all of the sick people that I've been taking care of and helping with for the last 35 years started with prebiotics and probiotics. And that's why I'm so excited to be part of this, because back when we started this little adventure, I didn't have those tools. And when I would go out and do my talks to my group, they would always hear, you need to be adding an omega, you need to be adding a probiotic and a prebiotic. And people would always ask me, well, which ones? And I'm so grateful that we now have our regimen, you know, pretty much completed. So to answer the question, if they don't think that they need it, you know what, just what I do is I just start asking them, you know, if they're on any kind of prescriptions, if they're on any kind of pain reliever, if they've ever had a headache, any of those things all stem from our gut. Does that help?
Oh, yes, totally.
Yes. Okay, so let's talk about, can the prebiotic be taken with the probiotic, and can you drink more than one a day? And should it be done in the morning? I know they talked about really doing it before your largest meal, but what's your thoughts on that?
Well, my thought, as with all of the products, is take them when you'll take them, because the most important thing is getting it in your body every day. All right? Having said that, you've heard me speak in the past about how I like the prebiotic on an empty stomach, first thing in the morning with a big glass of water. And the reason is because while we're sleeping, all that mechanisms of healing that are going on, we literally utilize a liter or more of water while we're sleeping. So when you get up first thing in the morning, all your blood vessels and organs and everything are kind of stuffed with trash. So since we have our NRF2 activation going on and our NRF1 building up our mitochondria, we want that trash out. So you take that big glass of water, get that through your system and the probiotic. Then if you want to take all the other stuff when you're eating, that's fine. The prebiotic can be taken with the probiotic. I don't have any problems with that. It can be taken at the same time. Dr. Fifi talked about it in regard to taking it before your largest meal, because we are heading into looking at our weight management contest in our program. And so there's a lot of people looking for answers in terms of what they're going to do for weight management. And as I said before, those amino acids in there are going to help signal our brain right away. They're going to also be those digestive enzymes in there to help with when we're eating, to utilize all the foods that you eat so that your nutrients can do their job. So honestly, the biggest thing is, the biggest question I get is, can I take it with Axio? Yes. The other question that I get all the time is, can I split the dose in two and take some in the morning and some in the afternoon? This is one of those trial and error things. The reason we put this in a powder instead of in a capsule is so that people can utilize it, because I will tell you, if you've not been taking fiber before, you will experience a little bit of gas buildup, and it's from the inulin. Inulin, that is part of what it does. It literally makes carbon dioxide, which sounds pretty exciting, right? That's a normal function of our digestive tract. But if you are taking a big scoop of this all at once and you haven't been doing this, what you're going to find is that you might get gassy and bloaty and not feel real comfortable. So I always tell people, you know what? Our products are powerful. They're unique. So what you might want to do is start with just a little bit to start. And you may find that it works best for you to take a little bit in the morning and a little bit later in the day. And it'll help satiate you throughout the day. But some people, they only have time for one, and they're going to take it right before their evening meal, or maybe they only have time to take it first thing in the morning. So it's you know, like everything we have, it is somewhat individual. We're individual, unique human beings. And there's some people like myself that could eat my weight in breakfast, and I don't even care if I eat dinner. That's how I've been my whole life. So for me, I take it in the morning. But there's lots of other people that after they eat dinner, then they continue to eat dinner, and then more dinner, and then have more snacks, and all of those kinds of things. It's really beneficial, according to some of my family members, that when they got started on it, they lost that needing a snack before bedtime. And I think that that's really helpful.
Awesome. I love it.
Okay, so I'm looking at some of these questions. If we still have the cleanse, you know, can we use the cleanse along with the prebiotic?
Yes, they're two separate things. One kind of doesn't replace the other, but the thing that I love the most is that once you get started on the prebiotic, you're not going to need the cleanse. All right. So if they've got some and they want to kind of give themselves a kick start, they can continue to use that cleanse for a little bit of time to kind of finish cleaning up and kind of helping, you know, get the situation. So it's almost like you're plowing the garden. You're plowing the ground, you're tilling it, and you're helping to get rid of some of the weeds to start with. And then that prebiotic is going to keep that soil and keep the plants growing there healthy. And that would be what I would recommend. And so for the most part, the cleanse, you know, a lot of us have it because it was on special, and I loved it. I mean, I probably have 15 bottles of it, and I still do utilize it. But in terms of where we're headed, honestly, within 2, 3, 4, 5 months, you're going to have such good, healthy biomes operating. And I would argue it's going to be a lot faster than that for those of us that have had the chance to be on the product. By the way, one thing that I have to tell you real quick that's so hilarious. I have a really good friend here who is a manufacturer. Some of you know that I have a calcium product that I've made. And I've known Jonathan for a long time. His wife worked for my husband for a long time, and they've been dear friends. And he manufactures for all of Whole Foods, all of their nutrients from the beginning of that company. He does a lot of other really upper end companies, really good products. He has the highest quality controls of any manufacturer I know. I mean, he's superb, and that's why I use him. Well, I went to see he and his wife the other day because they've been having some issues with their daughter, and he's a huge component of supplements. So I really haven't, they've kind of been on my chicken list, okay? So I went to see him, and I'm like, look, Jonathan, I know you don't make the NRF2, and I want to explain to you why this would be helpful for your daughter and your family. And then as I started talking about Axio, he got a funny look on his face. And all of a sudden he gets up and he goes into the pantry and he comes back out with a box of Axio. And in his other hand, he has a bottle of the prebiotic. And this is before it was out. And I'm like, oh my gosh, Jonathan, are you manufacturing those two products for us? And he said, yes. And this prebiotic, I was trying to find out who put this together. And he goes, I should have known you had something to do with it. So here I am. I can't even tell you. I had to call the company to see if I was in compliance, that his wife was one of my customers. But here we have the person who is doing our prebiotic, and someone I trust completely. So I just want you to know the kind of quality that goes into what we make, because all of the parts that you have, it doesn't matter if you don't have good manufacturing processes and good quality controls.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay, we have some more questions. I want to try and get through as many as we can. Can you take too much of the prebiotic?
Yes, you can take too much of anything.
Okay.
You know, I would say, you know what, we made the dose the way we did so that it could fluctuate some. But what people are going to find out is, you know what, it's just like if you eat too much fiber. Think of these as food sources. Okay?
Okay. Does the prebiotic and probiotic leave your body every time you go to the bathroom?
No.
Are you repopulating each time? How does that work?
No. Those biomes live there and continue to reproduce and multiply on a continual basis. So maybe you use, it's more likely that you lose them when you eat things that are going to kill them. Or if you're eating a lot of sugar and you're building back up the Candida again. It's more likely that's going to harm them than the actual, you know, our body's meant to be a symbiotic process. That's all part of the flow of our body. Okay. So I mean, having said that, you do need to stay on the probiotic because of that, because you are going to be down the road. Now, what it may mean is you may need to, or maybe you find that you can get away with less. For a long time, I've been taking 6 or 8 of them. Now I'm down to probably, you know, 3 or 4. And that's because I've had a lot of issues with my gut being leaky since birth, really. So that's what you have to do. You have to, each individual has to kind of figure out what balance works best for them. So when I say you can take too much, I don't mean that in terms of making you sick, but you know what? You may end up getting constipated. So if that's the case, then you know you need to back off a little bit. And there's going to be other people that run the other way. Fiber is going to create them having loose stools. It just depends on how their system is set up. All right?
Mm-hmm. Patti?
Okay. A couple of other ones. Hold on. This one was, we've heard that people are using the prebiotic and they are starting to notice suppression of not only appetite, but sugar and other types of cravings. Is that just because it is the satiation part, or is there something else happening? The biome is getting corrected.
The biome's corrected and the Candida.
Okay.
Candida.
And for those who don't understand Candida, what is Candida?
Candida is something that our body does need. You know, it's something that is in our body to help remove heavy metals. And so it's an important thing. You don't want to get rid of all of it, but you get an overgrowth of Candida when you have too much sugar consumption or when the balance in your diet is incorrect. And then it feeds upon itself like a hamster wheel. Then the more sugar you eat, the more it grows and the more it tells you you need more sugar. And that's why how many times have you had, you know, a piece of candy or a chocolate or something like that? Not so much straight chocolate, but like a chocolate chip cookie that contains a lot of sugar. And then within 20 minutes, you want more. You know, that's why you don't eat just one, because it's like, feed me, feed me. That's what that probiotic, the good bacteria is what you want to have. You don't want to have an overgrowth of things like Candida. Those are some of the bad things in there that you don't want, that mix up our signaling and don't allow us to utilize our nutrients. And so that prebiotic is going to really diminish that. And that's a very big reason why I think it's going to be a huge, huge thing for so many of our people that have sugar problems and sugar balances. And that's why it's helpful with weight management.
So I've got questions popping in like crazy, but a follow-up question to what you just said. Can you say some ways that a yeast imbalance will appear, like acne on teens?
This, you know what, I would Google it. It shows up in everything, but yes, especially through your skin, because what happens is you start building up trash and it has to come out somewhere. So you're going to see it come out through your skin. You're going to see it come out through bad breath. You're going to see it come out through dental caries. You're going to see it come out through bad gum health. You're going to see it come out through female infections, if you will. It comes out in lots of different ways, but the main thing that it does more than anything is it gives you really indigestion. A lot of people don't know and understand that's a major reason for heartburn. It's a major reason for digestion problems when you eat food, because it leaves your inflammation of the stomach is so huge from it that it leaves it raw. And so those are some of the signs that you'll see the prebiotic be able to help really take care of.
Okay, so is there a way to test for bad gut health? I mean, I know a lot of people get tested for yeast and candida and all kinds of different things. Is there something that, I know there's a lot of people asking about anxiety. Is that really part of gut health? I mean, is there a way that they can be tested?
There is not a way to be tested. If there was, goodness knows our medical system would already have figured it out. And you know what? Some of the naturopaths will do some yeast and fungus and parasite testing, you know, because we're talking about parasites too. You know, those are things that our body can get rid of if it's equipped. So, you know what? We want to have a strong army down there, and that's what that stuff does. And so when you're taking a look at a testing, in our world, that is such a big thing, because everything we do in Western medicine is you have to know exactly what it is so you can give this exact thing to take care of it. Well, that's not what we do. We're getting to the root cause of the problem. We're helping the digestive tract to be a functioning organ again. And when you get the functioning organ again, all of those things start to improve. But absolutely, anxiety is first and foremost, it has to do with the imbalances of your chemistry in your brain. And all of those, the serotonin and the dopamine and all of those get made by the mitochondria in our gut. And if those mitochondria are damaged and they're not being able to function properly, you're not getting those proper signalings. And that's why those amino acids are there. The amino acids in that prebiotic are going to help with that signaling. Those L cells are really important. And so all of the signaling that goes on between our gut and our head has to start with gut health. And so hopefully that will help you to understand a little bit of, and again, you're going to see things, you're going to see certain things like the actual gut operation change faster than you're going to see somebody with anxiety problems. That's going to take time. It takes time for chemistry to balance. But that's the best start of it. And so in terms of measurement, it's going to be, you know, how a person feels. I mean, they're going to be able to tell you. Back in the day, you've heard me talk about in pharmacy when they told us feeling of general malaise versus a feeling of wellness. And when you have general malaise, you can't really describe it. It's difficult to describe, but when you don't have it, you know it if you've had it.
Wow.
Okay.
True. So true. Okay. So this is a specific question. If someone suffers from diarrhea daily, can this prebiotic balance that, or should they first start with the probiotic?
They can start with both, because the probiotic is, those probiotics are going to be what helps with that whole situation. The reason that you have diarrhea is multiple different reasons. Inflammation wherever through the digestive tract. There's lots of different things that create that, but it's not so much that they have diarrhea, it's that they're not forming a proper stool. And so to form a proper stool, you have to have all those probiotics living in their house and living in a home and operating there so that they can stop the leaky gut. When that happens, that's how the prebiotic is going to help that. And I would say that it should help it pretty quickly. One of the things I love about this is, you know what, some of our products take a long time before we really see full benefits. When you start taking prebiotic like Axio, it's one of the things you're going to start seeing pretty quickly.
Okay, and I know we've gone over. Can you quickly describe what leaky gut is?
Oh my gosh, it's so multifaceted, but the bottom line is our digestive tract is not a solid tube. It is a series of cells all connected, just like our skin. And there's spaces in between them. What determines how big those spaces are is how well the cell walls are functioning. And there's lots of different reasons for those not functioning properly. But the bottom line, the leaky gut is that those cells are not connecting properly, and they're allowing things to go through that should not be going through. And that gets into our bloodstream, that gets into our organs and other cells based on that. And that's what causes a lot of our immune system to go haywire, because things that shouldn't be there are there. And most importantly, when you're having leaky gut, you're not breaking down foods properly, so you're not utilizing the nutrients, which is a big reason why, for instance, today we see vitamin D deficiencies. Your body, especially living in Arizona, we should never have vitamin D deficiency here, but we all do. And it has nothing to do with not getting enough sun. It has to do with the fact that our guts here really have not been optimal. And so that leaky gut has a lot to do with breaking down and utilizing nutrients, and even manufacturing and making things that we need. So that's why it's so important not to have leaky gut.
Wow. All right, so we're running out of time, but last question, what about children taking this? What is your thoughts on that?
They can eat vegetables and fruit, right?
Nope.
So they definitely can take this. Now, do you want to give them a full dose blast? Probably not. You're not going to have them eat 14 asparagus and 20 potatoes and, you know, all the different things. But what I would do is I would start just like with Axio or anything else with a tiny amount and see how they do. But it definitely would have a huge benefit for them. And you know what? A lot of them have pretty good probiotics already. This is going to enhance what they already have. So I'm excited about it because our probiotic is difficult for kids. And when people ask me, oh, well, can I give them the ones that are in gummy bears? Well, no, those are sugar. That kind of defeats the whole purpose. So finding good probiotics for kids is difficult. So let's feed the ones they have. Let's see if we can find some sources, and we are working on that. But the bottom line is, yes, they definitely can. Just like everything else, you want to start with small amounts.
I love it. Oh my gosh, Nancy, you are just such great information. I know we could go on. Shannon, I'll let you.
Oh my gosh. Yes, I could go on with forever. Thank you so much, Nancy, for all this wonderful information that you've shared with us today. It's always a treat to learn from you.
Oh, well, what I want to tell you is so much of what I know we put on there. It's there for you. Okay, and utilize that. And when other people talk about other products and whatnot, you know what? Just the number one thing I do, because I have a lot of people say, well, I'm already doing this or that, and I just say, that is great. Can you please bring me some of your information so I can take a look at it? Well, they don't have any. We have so much science backing what we're doing, and I don't want to take up a whole lot more time. You're going to start hearing about some information in regard to the FDA and what they're going to be doing with the supplementation industry. And I just want you to know, first and foremost, if you've forgotten this, Darren Jensen addressed this a year and a half ago and said, we are on top of this, so much so that when the Federal Trade Commission came in and took a look at what we do, they said we're the gold standard, and that he is helping being on an advisory board that helps other companies do what they're supposed to do. So if anybody gets concerned or questions about that, I just want you to feel comfortable. We're way ahead on this. It is why compliance is important as well. Okay?
I love it. And we are getting text messages about the video earlier that you mentioned. We will make sure that when we do the replay, we put that also in the post and the email blast. If you're not on our email blast, please get with whoever invited you on here today so that you can get on our weekly calls. We are just honored, and everything you just said is correct. We are the gold standard, and we all love LifeVantage, and we are just honored that you joined us this morning. So
thank you so much, and please make sure I get a copy. I know my group is going to be dying to hear it.
Yeah,
absolutely. We'll send it out right away. Thank you so much, Nancy.
Bye, everybody. Have a great Friday.
Bye.
Bye, guys.